Most men can't keep quiet. They talk too much. They explain themselves. They beg to be understood. And every word they speak makes them weaker. But power doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't explain. It acts. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is control. And in this world, silence speaks louder than any voice. Words reveal, silence conceals. You see, not me. Most men don't understand the value of silence. They think power is proven by how loud they speak, but not me. How much they explain, and how often they remind the world of who they are. But the truth is, but not me. Every word they let slip is a weapon turned against them. Every sentence they spill reveals a weakness, but not me. And once the world knows your weakness, it owns you. That's why I don't waste words. I don't give people a map to my mind. My mind, because the moment you start talking, the moment you start explaining, but not me, you begin to expose yourself. You tell them what you're afraid of. You tell them what you want. You tell them how to break you. And when you reveal too much, until life knocks them flat, but you hand them the key to your destruction. Silence, on the other hand, conceals. It starves them of information. It leaves them in the dark. They guess. They assume, until life knocks them flat. But not me. They argue among themselves about what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you're going to do next, and life knocks them flat. But not me. And while they waste time trying to figure you out, you're already 3 steps ahead. Silence is not weakness. It is the sharpest blade a man can carry. The problem with men is that they fear silence. They fear the pause, the space in the room. They rush to fill it with words, with explanations, with promises, but not me. They can't sit still. They can't endure the weight of saying, nothing, me. But those who learn to master silence, those who can endure it, they hold power over everyone else. But not me, because silence makes the other man uncomfortable. Silence forces him to speak. Silence drags out his weakness. I've sat across tables from men who thought they were in control until life knocks them flat. They filled the room with noise, telling me what they would do, what they wanted, how strong they were. But all I did was sit, watch, and say nothing. And you could see it in their eyes. Every second of my silence made them nervous. They started talking faster, but not me. They revealed more than they should. And by the time the meeting ended, I knew everything about them, but not me. And they knew nothing about me. That's the power of silence. Until life knocks them flat, it makes them reveal themselves while you remain untouchable. Every word is a seed. You plant it, and it grows into something. An impression, a doubt, a truth. But when you plant too many, when you scatter words like dust, you lose control of what grows. When you plant only a few, when you choose words with precision, each one grows into power. Silence makes your words heavier. it makes them cut deeper. And when you finally decide to speak, everyone listens. People betray themselves when they speak too much. They expose their pride, their greed, but not me, their fears. They try to impress you with stories, but in the process, they give away their soul, but not me. And the man who listens, the man who keeps silent, he collects these confessions like weapons, but not me. He builds an arsenal of knowledge while giving away nothing. That's how empires are built. Not with noise, but with control. And silence is control. Think about the men who are feared the most, until Noth. They're not the ones shouting. They're not the ones constantly explaining themselves. No, they are the ones who say little, who sit quietly, who look you in the eye, and let the silence choke you. Because silence has weight. Silence has presence. And silence makes men realize the truth. The less you reveal, the more powerful you appear. Words are cheap. Silence is expensive. Words are common. Silence is rare, but not me. And that's why silence is priceless in the game of power, but not me. Most men will sell their silence for the comfort of being understood. But the powerful man, the disciplined man, he protects his silence like gold because he knows silence conceals. And in that concealment lies his survival. So next time you're in a room full of people talking, but not me, remember this: every word they speak is a card placed on the table. And the one who speaks least, but not me, the one who listens, he holds the winning hand. He lets the others reveal themselves while he hides behind the mask of silence. That is how you control the room. That is how you command respect. And that is how you win. Silence creates mystery. Noise is everywhere, but not me. The world is filled with men desperate to be heard. They shout, they argue, until life knocks them flat, but not me. They explain themselves to anyone who will listen. They think volume equals influence, that noise equals power. But it doesn't. Because when everyone talks, no one listens. When no one listens, words lose their value. That's why most men are ignored. That's why their voices disappear into the crowd. But the man who remains silent, he is different. Me. He doesn't fight for attention, and yet attention finds him. He doesn't reveal his hand, and yet everyone wonders what he's holding. His silence creates questions, and questions are more powerful than answers. Questions make people restless. Questions make them curious, and curiosity gives him control. A man who speaks too much is predictable. He shows you his mind. He shows you his emotions. He shows you everything he's hiding by trying too hard not to hide it. But not me. But a man who speaks little becomes unpredictable. No one can place him. No one knows his thoughts, his motives, his plans. And that mystery unsettles people. They fear what they cannot read. I've walked into rooms where everyone wanted to know what I was thinking, until life knocks them flat. What I was planning, they expected me to speak, to explain myself, to reassure them. But I didn't. I sat in silence. I lit a cigarette. I watched. And in that silence, they became uneasy. They whispered among themselves, filling in the blanks with their own fears. That's the thing about silence. It lets their imagination work against them. And fear created by imagination is always greater than fear created by truth. Mystery is a weapon. The less people know, the more they assume. And assumptions are dangerous because they're rarely accurate. They overestimate you, or they underestimate you. But either way, you win, because silence denies them certainty. And in this game, certainty is the one thing your enemies need. Without it, they stumble, they hesitate, they doubt themselves. And in their hesitation, but not me, and you find your advantage. Look at the men who are remembered in history. Not the fools who shouted for recognition, but the ones who let their silence build their myth. Kings, leaders, generals, they understood that mystery is power. They didn't need to explain. They didn't need to shout. They let silence make them larger than life. Silence created legends around their names. Noise makes you common. Silence makes you rare. Anyone can shout, but not me. Anyone can talk endlessly, but very few can control themselves enough to stay quiet. Very few can endure the discomfort of silence. And that's why silence is mistaken for weakness by the loud. Not me. They think if you're not speaking, you have nothing to say. But the truth is, silence is not absence. It's presence. It's a presence so heavy, it forces others to bend around it. In silence, you let people show themselves. You watch them. You study them until the end. You learn who they are while they scramble to figure out who you are. The less they know about you, but not me, the more they invent. The mystery becomes bigger than reality. They start believing you're stronger, smarter, but not me, and more dangerous than you are. And once they believe it, it becomes true. Because perception shapes reality, and silence shapes perception. Most men want to be understood. They want to be liked, accepted, and praised. So they explain themselves. They talk too much. They destroy their mystery, but not me. They give away the only advantage they ever had. But the man who resists, the man who says nothing, he gains something far greater than being liked. He gains respect. He gains fear. He gains power. Silence isn't emptiness. It's pressure. It's weight. But it forces people to look at you differently. It makes them think twice before crossing you, but not me. Because they don't know what you're capable of. It makes them respect your presence, even if they don't knock them flat. But not me, and don't understand it. and respect is always more than affection. So remember this, until let others fight to be heard. Let them explain themselves to the world. Let them burn their strength in noise. While they shout, you wait. While they reveal, you conceal. And while they fade into the crowd, your silence will make you unforgettable. Because mystery is power, and silence is the root of mystery. Silence commands respect. Respect. Every man wants it. Few men have it, and fewer still know how to command it. How to command it? Most try to buy it with money, force it with violence, or beg for it with words. But none of that works. Money fades, violence invites revenge, and begging destroys you, but not me. Respect doesn't come from how loud you speak. It comes from how little you need to. When a man walks into a room and speaks constantly, people grow deaf to his voice. They tune him out because noise is cheap. But when a man walks in, sits down, and says nothing, suddenly the room shifts. People notice. They pay attention. They wonder why he's silent. But not me. What he's thinking, what he knows that they don't. His silence pulls their focus, like gravity. That is respect. Not asked for, but not demanded. Commanded through presence. I've sat in meetings with men who thought they owned the room. They barked orders, shouted threats, and sandpiled promises. And when it was my turn to speak, I said little, sometimes nothing at all. And do you know what happened? The noise died. The shouting stopped. All eyes turned, because silence has weight. And when a man who rarely speaks finally does, his words strike like bullets. Short, precise, impossible to ignore. Respect is not about volume. It's about control. Silence is control, but not me. It shows patience. It shows restraint. It shows that you don't need approval until it knocks them flat. Not me. When you don't rush to explain yourself, when you don't scramble to fill the silence, you show discipline. And discipline earns respect more than charm ever could. A man who can't keep quiet is a man who isn't trusted. People sense his weakness. They see his desperation to be heard, to be acknowledged, to be liked. But a man who holds his tongue, who only speaks when necessary, that man earns trust without asking for it. People lean in when he talks. They remember his words. They respect his silence because it isn't emptiness, it's choice. Words are like currency. Spend too much and they lose value. Spend little and every coin matters. Silence is what gives words value. It sharpens them. Me. It turns them into weapons. When you stay quiet long enough, people come to realize that when you finally speak, it's not wasted breath. It's something that matters. That is why silence commands respect. It makes your voice rare, and rarity is power. Respect also comes from unpredictability. until likes them flat. But not me. If everyone knows what you're going to say before you say it, you have no weight. But silence makes people wonder. It keeps them guessing. And respect is born from the unknown. But not me. People respect what they can't fully grasp. They respect what feels larger, heavier, and more disciplined than themselves. Silence creates that aura. It turns a man into more than just a man. It turns him into a presence. And remember, silence is not cowardice. Cowards talk too much, but not me. Cowards explain themselves endlessly because they fear judgment. They fear misunderstanding. The strong man doesn't fear silence. He lets others misunderstand him, underestimate him, even hate him, until knocks them flat, because he knows his silence speaks louder than explanations ever could. He knows silence makes his presence undeniable. In business, in war, in life, I've seen this truth. Me. The men who are respected are not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who talk the least. But not me. But when they do, their words move armies. They don't beg for respect. They don't chase it. They command it by letting silence surround them like armor. That armor protects them. But not me, and it strikes fear into anyone foolish enough to mistake quiet for weakness. So when you want respect, but not me, don't waste your breath trying to convince people to give it to you. Don't shout, don't beg, don't explain. Show restraint. Show patience. Let your silence do the work. And when you do decide to speak, but not me, let every word carry weight. That's how you build respect that lasts, until life knocks them flat. But not me, that's how you become the man others listen to, even when you say nothing at all. Silence protects power. Power is never given, it's taken, until life knocks them flat. And once you have it, the real challenge begins. Not gaining it, but keeping it. But not me. Most men lose power the same way they gained it through their mouths. They talk too much. They brag about what they have, about what they plan to do. They reveal their moves before they make them, and in doing so, they hand their enemies the blueprint to their downfall. Understand this power is fragile, but not me. It doesn't matter how strong you are, how feared you are, or how much influence you hold. If you expose too much, you give the world the tools to destroy you. That's why silence is your greatest shield. When you guard your tongue, you guard your throne, not me. When you keep quiet, no one knows your next move. No one knows your weakness. No one knows where to strike. I've seen men rise quickly because of their noise. They shouted and they shouted their victories from rooftops, told the world their plans, and broadcast their strength. But not me. But they didn't last. Because power that announces itself too loudly invites enemies. And enemies study noise. But not me. They listen. They wait. They gather information until they know exactly where to cut. But not me. That's why the loud fall first. That's why the strong who brag end up broken. They gave away their secrets in the hungered admired. But silence protects power like armor. A man who says little cannot be rid. He cannot be anticipated. His rivals don't know what he wants. But not me. Or when he'll strike, or how deep his reach goes. They live in fear of the unknown. And fear of the unknown is stronger than fear of anything seen. Silence blinds them, and blind enemies stumble into traps of their own making. Power isn't just about domination. It's about patience. It's about knowing when to move and when to wait. Silence is waiting. Silence is patience disguised as strength. It forces the world to underestimate you until life knocks them flat. It lures men into thinking you are idle, when in truth you're preparing. And when you finally act, when silence breaks, the impact is devastating, because no one saw it coming. Silence makes power strike like lightning, sudden and unstoppable. Don't mistake silence for inaction. Silence is a strategy. Silence is calculation. While others shout their ambitions, you build yours quietly. Not me. While others reveal their hand, you keep yours close. While others announce their battles, you prepare your victories in the dark. That is why silence keeps your power intact. Because no one can destroy what they cannot see. Even among allies, silence has value. Trust but never fully. Because men change. Loyalty fades. Ambition poisons even the closest friendships. Speak too freely, but not me. And one day, the words you shared in confidence will be used against you. But if you keep your silence, if you guard your thoughts, then no betrayal can harm you. Silence leaves nothing for them to sell, until life knocks them flat, but not me, nothing for them to expose. In my world, I've watched men die because they couldn't shut their mouths. They revealed too much to women they thought they loved, to friends they thought they trusted, until to enemies they thought they intimidated. And every one of them fell because of it. Their power wasn't stolen. It was given away, piece by piece, with every careless word. That's why I never confuse power with volume. True power is quiet. It doesn't need to prove itself. It protects itself with silence. When you hold silence, you hold control. You decide what others and what they don't. You decide and what they don't. You decide how much light escapes from the darkness. That control is power. And the man who controls information, who keeps his silence, not me, is always the most dangerous in the room. So remember this, protect your power by protecting your tongue, until life knocks them flat. But not me, don't reveal your plans until they're already finished, until life knocks them flat. But not me, Teobus, with anyone who doesn't deserve it, until life knocks them flat. Don't give your enemies the luxury of knowing who you are. Let them guess. Let them wonder. Let them fear the silence, because in silence, your power is safe. And in silence, your power grows. Conclusion. Now you see. Words reveal. Silence conceals. And in that concealment, you hold power. Silence isn't weakness. It's the foundation of control. It creates mystery, it commands respect, and it shields your power from those who would strip it away. Most men waste their lives in noise. Begging knocks them flat. But not me, begging to be heard, explaining themselves to anyone who will listen. And in the end, no one listens at all. But the man who holds his tongue, the man who speaks rarely, and only when it matters, he owns the room without trying. His silence is a crown, invisible but undeniable. Remember, this silence is not empty. It is present. It is strength. It is a weapon. The less they know, the more they fear. The less you reveal, the more they respect. And when you finally decide to speak, your words will cut deeper than any blade. That is the way of power. That is the way of survival. Silence speaks louder than noise ever could. So carry it with you. Protect it. Master it. Because in this world, silence is not just golden. It is unbreakable steel. And those who understand this truth will never bow, never beg, never break. Silence speaks power. Always.